My name is Isabella Crawford. Most people call me Bella. I'm currently working on special projects for Central, but first semester I was an RA on the third floor in Sanderson. So throughout this digital identity project, I'm going to be showing you a little bit about who I am, where I come from, and then I'm going to go more in depth about where I am with ResLife and everything that I've learned and everything that I know I still have yet to learn, and kind of go on this path about growth and development. One thing you should know as I'm breaking into this video is that I'm going to be talking about color guard, and color guard was a really big part of my life during middle school and high school. Basically, in the winter, which was defined as September all the way through March or April, depending on if we went higher or not. It was 5 hours a night, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a 12-hour day on Saturday, sometimes over 12 hours. And then during the summer, it was May all the way through August, September, and they kind of had an overlap period. And that was during the complete summer when we didn't have school. It was 12 hours a day for at least 2 weeks. And then after that, it was 7 hours a day. And so it took up a lot of time and it took up a lot of commitment, and I had a lot of leadership responsibilities. I was in charge of helping make sure, and it wasn't even in charge, I kind of did it on my own. I made sure that everybody ate and everybody was resting their bodies and giving it their all. And if they weren't, then I had to make sure that there was some way to make sure that they were giving enough to benefit, but also just make sure that the instructors didn't kind of notice to where they weren't getting yelled at even more, because that was our way of learning and growing. It was you get yelled at. And so kind of having that privilege, and I'm very lucky and that I found that community, and they helped me learn a lot throughout high school, and they helped me learn a lot about life and a lot about myself. And so I'm so grateful, and that's why I'm kind of showing you them as my way of growing and developing, but I also show you that as a way to know who I am and where I come from.
Color guard to me means everything. It's an outlet for me. It's just one of those things that I can push myself to keep getting better and better and better. I keep striving to find more ways to enjoy it in different ways versus performing or teaching or designing. It's just a different way that I've been able to express myself and be included in different things. So it was always something I always went back to. If I was having a bad day, I would go out in the backyard and I would spin or do something. If I was struggling in my adult life, I went back and I performed for a few years, and I kind of found my groove in who I was as a person. So for me, it just really means kind of like an identity in a way. I don't define myself as just a color guard person, but it's definitely shaped me into who I've become, who I will be in the future, and what I want to create in the students that I teach.
So for a long time, color guard was just like my escape, because I had like a really bad home life for a really big part of like when I started here. So a lot of the time it was just like, oh, I'm coming here, like I don't have to deal with like whatever is at my home. And then like slowly it became, oh, these people genuinely like care about me and they like want to know what's going on with me. So it developed into more of like a family, and now this is my home, and I want to be here more than I want to be anywhere else in the entire world. And I think this is my home, and this is my future, and this has made me into the person that I am.
Color guard means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. During my senior year, I knew that it could have been the last time I performed, and unfortunately it is the last time I performed. And I was sobbing the whole entire time, and I came out of the performance gym and my whole team was sobbing too. It was something that I look back and I can't even imagine how close we were and how successful we were as a team from having that bond. And going into my freshman year, that's something that I didn't have, as I didn't really have that community. And starting as an RA, that's something that I always wanted to make sure I had, is that community that was willing to be there for each other and be that home away from home, as we pride ourselves in being for ISU. And looking at how I did that, I know that at the time there was this huge boundary problem that I had because I wanted to be there for everybody at any time. And it took a toll on me. And so, talking to my supervisors, I learned about making sure that I have 30 minutes at the beginning of the day and 30 minutes at the end of the day, or however much time I needed for self-care, and making sure that I made sure that my schedule was still my schedule, and then I balanced that with work. And that's something that I'm very grateful for my supervisors for doing, and it's something that I continue to do now with a planner and using that scheduling tool, my time management balanced. And so going forward, I definitely realized that like I did have some accomplishments. One person who didn't live on my floor originally came to my floor, and during rush chats, she said, "My first floor was very great. We were all very nice and positive towards each other, but coming onto your floor was completely different. Everybody was knocking on my door, wanted to ask if we could hang out, and she was so grateful for that, having that community. And I know that this is one of the goals that I was able to achieve upon serving this position. And looking at how I would improve, it's I can't jump the gun. And that's something that as an EMT I'm taught to do and I'm trained to do. But as a person and serving in ResLife, that's something that you can't do. You have to think about the problem and come up with the best solution. I learned this through a situation where I had a resident whose cousin was in a car accident, and she was scared, of course, and my reaction was to jump, and she needed a ride home, and she was scared. And learning from all the situation and everything panned out, it's you have to take a breath and you have to calm down the resident and you have to reach out to their support system. It's a very interesting tactic and something that I'm learning throughout this position. It's you have to make sure that you do what's you calm them down and you be there for them, and you can call your HD and you can go through your circuits, but what's important at the time is the individual. And I wouldn't respond in the same way. I would make sure that I am calming that student down and that we're thinking about this in the most rational way possible, and having the most information that we can. But I learned this through looking at the student code of conduct and through our policy manual and through talking with supervisors and making sure that I'm being there for myself as well as there for the student. And if you're not there for yourself, you can't be there for any student. And I think that that's something that I've definitely learned throughout my role. So when it comes to working in a group, I am a very determined and passionate person, but I can take the sidelines, especially when working with other leaders, if I don't know the topic. That's something that I do know that I do, and it's not because I don't have passion for that certain topic. It's just because I know that if I don't have all the information, I shouldn't be saying something that's out of my realm. And I think that that's something that did affect me in Sanderson a little bit, is because I knew that there was topics that I just didn't have a lot of information on, and I didn't see something wrong with it, and so I would definitely either let it go in a meeting, or it'd be something that we discuss later. As for supporting other student staff, that's something that I absolutely am looking forward to if I get this position. It's it's kind of a matter of being honest about your mistakes, and that's something to me that I absolutely can do. And it doesn't even have to be like, wow, this time I really messed up. It can be as simple as, hey, like, don't forget to check the elevators or something like that, because we all know that we've made those mistakes and we've grown, and why wouldn't we give them the same opportunity?
Bella was a lot like me in the fact that sometimes she got a little frustrated with herself, and sometimes she couldn't come out of that. But I think with that, she has learned how to take that energy and make it positive for her.
Bella in Color Guard was a lot like me in the facet that she's a perfectionist. She strives for everything to go perfectly when she does it. And that's hard in this activity because you can never really gauge what perfection is. She was a fantastic leader, either verbally or non-verbally, just based on rehearsal etiquette, how she ran things, doing all the things that we asked. And if we didn't ask her to do them, she just knew what it was. She's always been a great leader, but as a spinner, she was one of those people that almost took it on herself when she was doing poorly instead of being constructive. She almost took that in a negative way, which hindered her in ways that shouldn't have because she's insanely talented. But she's just, like I said, she's just like me. It's just one of those things where you want to do so well for everybody, you want to do so well for yourself, and you're constantly working to perfect your craft. She's an extremely hard worker. She's great with kids when she comes back and teaches. But as a member, she was definitely one of those kids that you idolize as an instructor because you want that work ethic, you want that workhorse, you want that leader to be there in the group all the time.
So those were my instructors, and I absolutely love them and adore them. And they knew me so well for so long, and hearing how they took my position and my role in the community is very, very humbling. Um, I love them and I adore their opinions, and I'm always going to be extremely grateful that I got the opportunity to work with them. And I want to take everything that they taught me and I want to transfer it over to ResLife, and I want to affect this bigger community. Part of that is a leader doesn't lead from the beginning, they start at the end, which means you start with the students that struggle and you work your way up to make sure that there is no person who's left behind. There is no person who can't be there by themselves. Um, that's obviously one of my biggest things. That was always the biggest thing from the beginning, is making sure that if there is somebody who's struggling, I'm always making sure that I'm reaching out to that person and being there for them. And but looking at how I fit into this leadership role, it's definitely changed from when I started. I think I started with this fiery passion that was very unfathomable, just to this day, thinking back. And now I just have this new sense of I want to be there for people in a way that I know can help them, but I want to also make sure that I'm dialing it back to know that some things are just out of my control. And I will do everything I can to report and to make sure that it gets to the right people. But what it comes down to is being there for the individual at the end of the day. And that's something that I will always do. And I just want to make sure that I'm fitting the role correctly, which has made me think that um, I think that going forward, I think one of the things that I'm kind of jumping between is I want to do the RA position because I know that I could be there for a lot of people, but I also think that maybe the SJE position would be really good for me because I definitely want to be there for people who need that fiery passion, and that's what I have, and that's kind of who I am. Is I'm going to be there and I'm going to help you fight what you need to fight. I'm going to help you get through what you need to get through, because taking that away is taking away anything that I know. I'm the person who helps the underdog. I'm the person who supports who needs to be supported. In ResLife, this is who we are. We help those who need help. We support communities to help them grow into stronger individuals. We look at everybody's needs and everybody's wants, and we try to make those connect. We take scared individuals and we make them into strong adults. That's who we are, and we're supporters. I can't say that I've had one person who hasn't been supportive. And that's been the most helpful thing throughout working with ResLife. And that's the community that I want to work in and I want to be a part of. I want to make a community where we support each other and we make a home.